Hello and welcome to Down the Slope. We're back. We were on last week. We were on last Monday. It's me, it's Harry, it's Greg. Liam's off sunning himself, and much sunnier climates than here. How you doing, Harry?
I'm all right. Well, I don't know if it's much sunnier than here because London's getting hot today, mate.
I'll tell you something. I don't know about Edinburgh, but it's fucking shite in Falkirk. It's been warm, but it's been pissing with rain and grey all day.
Not good.
I don't know what it's usually like in Falkirk.
You're not wrong. Greg, how you doing, mate? I know you're back into the gym. You look a little bit defeated tonight.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm probably not going to be on form tonight because I'm just absolutely fat. 6 days out of 7 has taken out me, but yeah, it's my job. I'm struggling, but look, I'll give it my best shot as always.
Feeling better for it
though? Yeah, usually. Not the night though.
Right, since we last recorded, Hibs have signed 3 players. They were all announced in the space of 24 hours, with one being at what looked like by accident at 9:30 at night on the Wednesday night. Well, we go through them in chronological order that they were announced. So the first signing that we made last Wednesday night, now correct me if I don't pronounce this correctly, Mamadou Bojang. Sounds all right to me. A 1-year loan with the option to make it permanent at the end of the year from Rainbow FC. Harry, you done any reading? Because disclaimer, none of us have heard them before. Let's be like that. I don't get all be surprised by that, but
it's I think it's an interesting one. Like a lot of people are being quite bashful towards it, but for me, like Celtic, for example, went to the Asian market last year and brought in a lot of players that have turned out to be fantastic signings for them. Like, I don't mind us dipping into a market that we're not familiar with, just because in an African league, it's not something with Rainbow FC is not anything I'd ever heard of before. Doesn't mean he's a terrible player. It does probably spell the end of Deutsch. Just looking at him, It looks like a relatively big guy. I wouldn't expect him to be anything other than a target man. Goal scoring record, I don't think's great, but I don't think that's his role. So yeah, no, I'm interested. I'm fascinated. I don't think he's going to be a starter, but it's nice to have that extra bit of something else in the squad.
Greg, Hibs described them as a pacey, direct striker with an eye for goal. Harry's pretty much just down.
I've just went off the way to that.
And did someone say that was a replacement for Deutsch? Sorry,
I thought I was sure I'd read somewhere that he was like a big target man.
He has a big. He has a tall.
I mean,
I might have read wrong. Like
I haven't watched the video. He looks clumsy at best, to be honest. So yeah, we'll wait and see. I'm not up to date with the African football leagues.
No.
I'm not going.
If he gets his elbows up at corners, I'll be a fan.
If he gets back
in defending
corners, Harry, you'll be a fan. So, yeah.
It's interesting again. Lee Johnson and his sort of little, obviously we've not heard as such, but quoted saying a lot of interest from Portugal, Sweden, and the MLS. So I don't know. I get the impression that, albeit it is an initial loan, the club see this as a more longer term thing again, maybe similar to Melkerson in January. Harry, you're talking about a replacement for Deutsch. We don't know if Deutsch is going to stay or go. Obviously, as contracted at the club, so we'll work on the assumption he is here. Do we still need the 2 strikers that we probably all said last week we need, or is it now potentially one more and then depend on outgoings?
I'm still not convinced that Melkerson's ready to take on like a starting role week in, week out. So I still think that, especially whilst Nisbet's out, that we need another first team striker. That's a bit like a similar build to Nisbet that can just kind of fill his shoes until he gets back.
What about yourself, Greg?
I think I would like to see us sign one more striker and then a couple of more winger type players, which will bring us nicely onto another segment of the podcast. See that? Seamless. Lovely, fluent.
But we've got a load to get to before we get to that.
Yeah,
the segue idea was nice, though. The idea was nice. Everybody's excited. What's coming next?
We'll drop it there, and then people will probably skip the next bit because I've teed that up nicely. But nah, I think we pointed out a striker. And then wingers.
It's going to be
Definite
difficult, isn't it?
wingers.
Because
It will be. I mean,
because with Nisbet being unavailable until November time, it's like
yeah. The last thing we want to do is bring in a 6-month loan.
Yeah, like what?
No, we don't want that. That is bullshit. We want to try and build something here. We don't want to just have stop gaps. So
stuff.
yeah, we need actual building and continuity.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be happy with a 6-month loan deal for anyone. So yeah.
Cool. The second signing was one that we were all pretty surprised by. I think there's been a humorous response to it, and also taking it on its merits. I think you can look at them separately. I think obviously Rocky Bashiri's been signed on a 3-year deal. Let's be honest, we all thought he wasn't going to be returning, probably based on his performances last season and ultimately the sort of message that was sent out from the club the week prior. Now, I didn't explicitly say that we weren't taking up the options, like on Jasper or Rocky, but I did certainly suggest that they weren't coming back. Harry, was there any other initial reaction, emotion other than sort of shock?
It is really funny. Like they've genuinely thought a player's left the club and then not realised that he's played enough games that it's automatically triggered his. It's a poorly worked deal by the sounds of it. I think, being honest, by the way Kensal reacted to signing him, they thought it was a coup for the club. So having a clause like that in it just made perfect sense. That I'm not as harsh towards Rocky as a lot of people are. I think that he came in during quite difficult circumstances. For the most part under Maloney, we were actually all right for the first 10 games defensively. Then we kind of blew up start of April, especially when it came to the Hearts games. Rocky was absolutely atrocious. So I don't think he's the worst centre back we've ever seen, but I don't want him to start next season.
Yeah, Greg, Rocky. I mean, is there an argument to say that the club wouldn't have had to have given him a 3-year deal? If there was a complete oversight, unless maybe it was something that was agreed, maybe the contract with Rocky had been agreed prior to the loan. But if it has been a complete oversight, you'd be surprised if the club then went and handed him a 3-year deal.
I think the most surprising thing about it is he's a centre half that can't head the ball properly. And we've given him a 3-year deal, which is 10 out of 10.
Do you think there is potentially a confidence or a fitness thing there? Like he did come into a team that wasn't exactly performing well, but when he first came in, he looked good when he first joined. I think
he came in and he murdered Van Veen a couple of times.
That was a 0-0 game, was it? The midweek
it was a rainy night in Motherwell, and he murdered him twice. So that sort of bought me in a wee bit, but then after that, it was pretty bad, to be fair. I don't think he's up to the standard.
He's younger than Porteous, isn't he?
Yeah, but he can't pass the ball, which is a worry. He can't pass. He can't head. I mean, in the derby, I thought it was dreadful. The 0-0 one at Easter Road, where he just about cost us a game. The one at Tynecastle, he was even worse. I just don't see why. Why? Because we've made an arse of it, but how he's in the plans for this season. If we've given him a 3-year deal, it just doesn't make sense to me.
I think I was going to say the podcast, but I think generally football fans are a lot more harsh when a team isn't performing, especially Hibs were last season. We were still very critical of the defence.
The one thing I would say is that
if you look at it in terms of league, we had the third best defence again last season. I think the issue was very much at the other end of the park. But I get when they're not scoring, one mistake, so maybe when there is better at the other end of the park, players like Rocky might look better because there's not as much scrutiny on them potentially.
Possibly. I mean, Lee Johnson's not really asked about defending anyone. He's made that crystal clear with the signing. So he seems like he's all about attacking. So yeah, we'll wait and see. But it's certainly not a signing that that made me renew my season ticket anyway.
Yeah. Same question then, as we did with the first signing. Where does that leave us in terms of demand to bring in centre backs? Probably still looking at least
3.
For me, at least another 1, maybe 2.
Yeah, I would maybe go as far as saying 3.
If Poaches goes, then I'd agree with 3. If Poaches stays, then I think we need 2.
Okay, cool. So what your Rocky would be 4th choice at that point, I'm assuming?
Rocky would be in the stand.
Like behind the.
Yeah.
I'd have Hanlon over Rocky.
Yeah, sorry, I was 5th. That would be sorry. Yeah.
To be fair, I'd probably have Hanlon over Rocky as well, but it wouldn't be by much.
Right, 3rd signing. Probably the one that was. Do you know? Sorry, just before it seems weird. We didn't really big any of these up, and I don't know if it's because none of them were potentially there to do the, like obviously they're coming from all over the world, and Rocky has just been made permanent. So like, maybe you wouldn't make as big a fanfare of that, but they all came in sort of really low key. But the 3rd and final one that we've made, which I have to say sort of surprised me, just the timings of them. I thought we were going to get a 4th one on Thursday evening. Lewis Miller joining from, well, technically not coming from Central Coast Mariners, but that's where he's coming to, because he'd actually signed a free contract to go elsewhere, but Hibs bought him out of that, so they actually didn't get any money. We paid MacArthur. But yeah, it seems an interesting option, an interesting option at right back, 21-year-old. Look, we spoke about it last week, but as far as we've sort of been led to believe, Harry Clark will definitely be remaining a Hibs player. So we're probably looking quite strong on the right-hand side of the park now with Clark.
Lewis Miller is going to be the best player in the world, and there's no doubt about that.
I fully agree.
As disappointed as I was with the strikers YouTube montage, Lewis Miller looks like a younger version of Harry Clark, to be honest. He looks aggressive. Yeah, but I've got quite a little bit younger. He looks aggressive. He can go forward. He can cross the ball. Everything you want in a right back, he can do. And the touch is just sensational. So yeah, I think he's probably going to be player of the year this year.
Ken what? That's a good shout. And you ken who is the best fullback we've had since? He's the best fullback we've had since David Murphy. He actually looks carbon copy. Physical, great on the ball, touch. Oh, he's going to be an absolute caviar defender.
I think the one
Talking of caviar defender, Lee Rose, thank you very much for the feedback after 5s last week. For the viewers and listeners, Lee called me caviar, which puts me in a position to criticise every single defensive error that Hibs make ever.
Well done, G.
One thing that the 3 of them do have in common now, I'm trying to word this in a way that doesn't get any trouble. They all look physically imposing, like proper athletes. They're all above 6 foot. Like, I find that is sort of what we're going to see from Lee Johnson. Look, he wants to play quick. He wants to play fast football. There is going to be a physical demand in that from the team.
Sorry, but can we just appreciate they all look physically imposing?
No, they do. They're over 6 foot.
No, I get what you mean, but that's such a weird way. Physically imposing? What does that even mean? Imposing on what? They do.
I don't know how you've never heard that.
No, I've never heard it on the podcast anyway. But no, I completely agree. They do look like big boys. Lee Johnson says that he wants to play attacking football and quite aggressive and physical. So yeah, I think that is probably the archetype. I don't think that every player. I think the wingers are probably going to be a bit more less imposing physically. All right, yeah, no, but I agree.
Physically imposing
just use
is the
the
opposite
technical
of what
term.
17-year-olds look like when they came on the park on the last day of the season.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, big boys, physically imposing.
No, but Greg, look, you were impressed by his YouTube compilation, because again, look, we're not sitting here saying that we're well versed in the A-League. I'll hold my hands up, right? Hart signed his teammate about an hour before we signed him, and I said to you boys, well, if they're signing centre halves for a league that any like Jason Cummins and Jamie McLaren can score for fun, they can't be that good. My outlook on it changed really quickly.
Don't mention Joe McLaren, please. Too soon.
Oh dear.
But yeah, we'll keep that one for another time. Look, it's probably not the greatest quality league, to be honest, but
What stood out for you?
the doubt for me.
No, what stood out for him? And
What stood out?
Yeah.
I think the way that he gets down the line and puts the ball in the box, because let's be quite honest here, Chris Cadden, his final product is bad some of the time. So it looks like Lewis Miller can get down the wing and put a good ball in the box. I think it looks like he's got some nice feet, good touches, direct. I think he can also mix it up a little bit, which is key.
Yeah.
Because for a couple of seasons we've been very, very, very predictable. So if we can add that little element of unpredictability and coincide that with an attacking mindset, I think we'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are, about a month after the season's finished,
in.
saying it's absolutely shite. We've been dreadful for months, and now we're bought in because Lee Johnson said some nice stuff. And it happens every time, and we all do it.
Yeah. No. So Johnson comes out and says that he's delighted that we've got him, blah, blah, blah. Lewis is a real competitor and his game style is blessed with a physical and technical attributes to seamlessly fit into the way we work. So I do think it's going to be a high intensity game, I think. As well, the more players we sign, the more comments that come out, I think we are going to be playing at quite a high level in terms of intensity, which hopefully the training's all right, because last year we had plenty of injuries and I wouldn't say we played at that high in intensity. So we'll see how it goes this year. Would you think that's the right-hand side of the park pretty much covered? Or would you expect maybe a right-hand sided player in the final third? Bojang is supposedly able to cover in wide areas of the park as well. Even though Harry says it's just a replacement for Deutsch. It literally says that. You play across. Like, did you even read it when we signed on that?
Joe, I actually thought it was like one of the parody accounts.
No, but yeah, do you think that's the right hand side of the pitch? Pretty much.
I don't think we've got a right winger, mate, to be honest.
Chris Cadden.
Nah, I'd say he's a wing back.
Did you not make an argument? Did you not shout at me the other week for saying I said he could play right wing back, and you went, no, he's a right back?
No, you said he wasn't a right back.
You said he could play right back. So I was like, absolutely fucking not. I think he's a right back. Anyway, so you still think...
Anyway, I'm going to segue us on the left-hand side of the pitch.
Okay.
2 words. Ronan Curtis.
Talk to us, Greg. You're generally more well-versed in lower league English football than myself.
Yeah, very good player. Well, let's say he is a good player. He's got quite a few caps for Ireland. Done well at Portsmouth, to be fair. Almost been a bit stagnant the last couple of seasons, if I'm honest. And showed a lot of early promise. Mm-hmm. And I think he's sort of needing a new challenge, I would say. But if we signed him, I would be extremely excited. I don't think we're in the club in for him, no, but hopefully we can try and tempt him up here. But he is definitely a player that I think would be good at Hibs. Direct, pacey, can score goals. He's definitely someone that we should be looking at. So if we could get him in, that'd be a massive, massive coup for us.
Yeah. So I mean, throughout his sort of time at Portsmouth, he's been there 4 seasons, and they've been in League One all that time, and in all competitions he's played over 40 games this season, so fitness doesn't appear to be an issue. And he has contributed at least 10 goals. And I'm shamelessly reading this offline. I'm not vouching to be any expert. But for me, these are the profile of players now. Yet £500,000 on a 26-year-old seems to me to go against the model that represent. I'm not sure if you get much. Look, he could come up good and rip up for 2 years, and you could sell him on. There's no doubt in that. But 26 feels like to me that it might be pushing it a little bit for Hibs to put the investment into someone, given that we are ultimately looking to sell assets on and make money to keep bringing them in. But the profile is exactly where I want Hibs to be shopping this summer. And the three guys that we've signed are all in their early 20s. This guy's got more experience at a pretty decent level in England, obviously played in Ireland as well. And like I say, he's been very consistent. 49 appearances, 12 goals, 44 appearances, 14 goals, 49 appearances, 14 goals. Last season tailed off a little bit, just to 10 goals, 47 games, but really consistent numbers for a player in the wide area that other than Martin Boyle, we've not seen.
It's all from the wing. So if you're scoring the amount of goals from left wing, then you're doing all right, in my opinion. Obviously, it doesn't show his assists, I'd imagine he's got decent numbers in assists, but he's definitely the sort of player that I think Hibs should be looking at. I think Hibs should be ambitious and look to pay the money. But that's just from a biased point of view, from a player that I think would excite fans.
I think as well, Harry, when we talk about Hibs spending money, I don't think that's something that could be criticised of the current ownership and the board and stuff. They have been spending money. I think we can be critical of where they spend it to an extent. But for me, if Hibs did go and spend £500,000 on a player this summer, I'm not sure it would surprise me. But I think if it was on a 26-year-old, it would. I don't know if that sounds stupid. I would be delighted with it, because that, for me, if you're going out and spending that on a player with that experience, you're expecting them to walk into the first team and make a real impact. But it maybe does just seem a little bit different. I know, look, at the end of the day, it's just a rumour, but it does seem a little bit different from the model.
Are you talking yourself at the point? Or
I was going to say, you, and that is the longest question you've asked for about 3 months, mate. So I'll answer it. I'll answer it with the way I want to answer it, because you asked about 32 questions here. The way I'm perceiving this, which I think is a very positive thing, I think this is a Lee Johnson signing. Like, I think that's a player he's identified himself, not the club. And then after he's ran it by the club, he's saying, I want that guy, go and get him. Because obviously we were told that he's going to have a lot more of a say than previous managers had. It doesn't strike me as the market, as you alluded to, that the team we're currently looking at. So I think Lee Johnson and anybody that he's been working with has identified him as a very good player. And if we were to spend the money, then I think that would be why. I don't think it's Ron Gordon and his team. I think that's someone that Lee Johnson's seen whilst at Sunderland, wanted him at Sunderland, and never probably got sacked before he had the chance to sign him. Yeah. And supposedly, I've done some reading into it. The reason he fell off form, apparently started the season really well, and they started playing him at right wing, and he struggled at right wing. So he is pretty much just a natural left winger. He kind of struggles. He's not too versatile to play him elsewhere on the pitch, from what I've seen, from what Portsmouth fans have been saying. Which I think, I don't think that's a bad thing. If you've got like a stick-on left winger, when was the last time we had a stick-on left winger? I've been banging on about centre backs for so long. I've not realised how weak we've been at wingers outside of Martin Boyle the last 5-6 years. We're talking a lot about a guy that might not even sign. We've just seen rumours of it today, but it would be a really positive sign. It would be nice to see Johnson make an impact on the team.
It's the sort of length that gets you excited, and personally, I'm sitting not expecting it to come through. I just don't, like, you see, I want to say one of the teams that were linked was definitely Blackburn. And look, Blackburn are a very well established championship team, but they'll have decent money sitting there. I'm not sure that it's realistic to think Hibs can.
Mate, according to Hibs.net fans, like, we're spending about 30k a week on Muller, so we can definitely afford this boy. I absolutely hope it comes to fruition, but we'll just have to wait and see. In terms of other incoming rumours, there's not really been too much this week. Obviously, the guy's name completely escapes me. We've been linked with the fullback from West Ham. It's like Lasong or something.
His name's totally escaped me, but it has been very much been reported as it depends if Josh Doig moves on, which has been sort of quite prominent the last few days, that a couple of clubs in England are potentially still interested, but Bologna seem to have quite a strong interest if Aaron Hickey was to move on.
Longello is his name.
Sorry. Do we expect Josh Doig to move on this summer?
Some people seem to know Josh Doig and his situation better than others. But for me, I don't think he'll leave in the summer window. To be honest, I think he'll stay. I just don't. I think at the moment he's at a point in his career where he is enjoying his football. The players no rush for him to move on. He knows he can get that move. Why not hold off 6 months to a year and possibly get a better move? It is a risk ultimately, but I think that's probably where he's thinking. I don't think he's desperate to get out the door at any stretch of the imagination.
I think that with modern fullbacks, especially, big teams are looking for ones that can attack. I think that Lee Johnson's system is set up, from what we've been told, that players like Josh Doyle should thrive. So I think for me, sticking around for another season, because he had a very if we're being realistic, the first 10 games of the season he was awful. And then he kind of came into his own under Maloney and then played well for the rest of the season. But if he's wanting a big move down south, he needs to have a full season playing really well and being able to attack down the wing, which he didn't really show too much of last year. So if he can play well under Johnson, then for me, it makes sense to have another season, show what you're worth, and then get us that money.
I like him, like you've mentioned, show what he's worth, Harry. In the market, what is it worth? Look, Harden Hickey went to Bologna for what was it, £2 or £3 million. But Nathan Patterson's went to Everton for 12 or 16.
16.
Calvin Ramsey looks like he's going to Liverpool for about 8.5. Like, what is Josh Doig worth in this market? In terms of Nathan Patterson, do you know what? Fair enough, he had a couple of Scotland caps under his belt, played in Europe for Rangers, so there is a couple of feathers to his bow that Josh Doig doesn't have, but Josh Doig played more first-team football. Josh Doig's played more first-team football than Calvin Ramsey.
Yeah.
Where does the barometer land on Josh Doig's current value? Just signed a new deal as well.
For me, it depends on the club. Like if Norwich are coming in from his worths, I would say like 6 million with a 50% sell-on clause. If Liverpool come in from, I wouldn't want less than 10 million. Like,
does it depend if it's England as well? Obviously, there seems to be does it depend on the country of purchase as well in terms of?
I suppose with the whole Brexit thing, that's why you get such a premium on these players. But then look at Hickey. Hickey's supposedly like rumoured to Arsenal for like 20 plus million. Like, mental.
He was good the other night. No, Greg, put a number on Josh Doig's head. You done it with Ryan Porteous last weekend.
4 million. Yeah. For the market that he's in,
I would agree with that. And what do you think the differences are between Calvin Ramsey and Josh Doig?
I've seen Calvin Ramsey at Easter Road and he was shite. I've seen Josh Doig at Easter Road and he was slightly above average. So no, I think Josh Doig has more potential. I think the system last season maybe held him back. But I think we sort of seen a different side to Josh Doig towards the end of the season. I thought when he was driving forward, he was pushing himself further up the park. Calvin Ramsey, I'm not going to comment because I've only seen him a couple of times at Easter Road, but yeah, don't know enough about him. But I think what's he rumoured to be going for? It's like silly money.
8.5 million. 8.5 million Aberdeen are wanting. I don't know if all that will be up front. Now, for me, I mentioned it last week.
But are they saying 8.5 million to price people out?
No, Liverpool are going to pay it by all accounts. I mean, it's pocket change to the top clubs in England, but
that'll be Liverpool that's hard done by at the time, man, because other people are spending more money than them. But they're going to spend 8.5 million on a right back for Aberdeen. Is that pretty much right?
Very much, mate. That's the game. Net spend, my man. That's what it's all about. I guess the one thing that does go against Josh Doig, I spoke about it last week. End product. One assist last season in the top flight. Like, he does get forward to good effect. No goals, 1 assist in the league last year. You really need to be seeing more, don't we? Sorry, 2 assists.
Yeah.
Sorry, two assists. 33.
I think he'll be disappointed with that as well.
Season, 34 appearances and 2 assists in the league. He got 1 in the Scottish Cup as well. So there's a really obvious part of his game that he needs to improve on. Harry, is that a factor in it, or do you think Hibs just need to be slapping a bigger price on his head?
I don't see us like. I don't know. Like it depends on where we want to be at. Like I don't know how much difference 4 million makes when like if you hold out and it gets better, you can get 8 million. Like we've got very rich owners who, if they can spend 500k, they can probably spend a bit more as well. I don't think that we need money. And I'd rather have Josh Doig than have 4 million that's not going to get reinvested.
Yep.
Is there a discussion around if Lee Johnson wants the funds to sign players like Ronan Curtis, and we've identified a left back that we believe can come in from West Ham and replace Josh Doig to a similar level, like to a similar standard? Is there an argument that money could be better utilised to potentially bring in 3 or 4 starting players that really make a difference to the team?
I don't think that Josh Doig's transfer fee is in the transfer budget. I think that Lee Johnson has been given a transfer budget or will be given sums. And he will have to work with the parameters that he's been given. I think that from what I hear, Josh Doig's playing a Lee Johnson type player. He can get up and down the wing. Obviously, his assists in that weren't great last season, but he has got it in him. So I think Lee Johnson will probably want to keep on him, so he will not go for pennies anyway.
Yeah. So the other out that's been rumoured this week ties into the sort of Lewis Miller signing. Paul McGinn's days at the club appeared to be suggested that they were sort of coming to an end now. There's been a lot of criticism of Hibs for this 1-year deal. One, I think it was an automatic extension due to appearance triggers, and I think it was very much the player's option. And 2, what's the issue? If if giving him a year and then potentially getting a small fee from if he moves on, what I don't really understand the issue with that. But the article probably suggested it's more on Paul McGinn's terms if he wants to move on. Like we've listed 3 players there tonight that are all capable of operating on that right hand side. Would imagine his tendencies are even more limited now.
He's not capable of playing for this football club.
Do you expect he'll move on this summer?
Hopefully. I'll drive him to wherever he wants to go.
What about yourself, Harry? Do you think his days are numbered now with the signing of Miller?
I don't know. It was a weird one. I'm happy that we signed Miller. He looks like a good player, but it was definitely not a position we needed strengthening in my opinion. So yeah, it's the same as Macy. Like I don't want to force him out the club as much as certain people on the podcast do. But
Liam.
It's as soon as we signed Marshall, Macy became redundant, and as soon as we've our strongest position by depth, potentially our 3 best players are all right backs. There's no point having a 4th.
Yep.
That's an interesting comment Harry made there about he didn't feel like we need to strengthen that area of the park, but we do because Paul McGinn's not good enough.
So we need to have
on paper. We don't think Paul
starting
McGinn would really have a chance
right
to get in right back, do we?
Well, are they all starting caliber right backs though?
I don't think Cadden has at right back, but we had this discussion last week.
That's a weird thing to call out, Greg. All right, so let's get 3 people that can play every position on the entire pitch and have a squad of 33.
I just think that if we want to improve ourselves, we need to get rid of players like Paul McGinn and bring in better. That's my point. Because
I think as well, look, if Harry Clark has the season that we think he can, he's not going to be at Hibs next year because he'll be priced out. Hibs will be priced out of the market if he has the season that we're all hoping and expect he'll have. So I guess signing Lewis Miller could potentially be seen as future-proof in that as well, because they do look like similar styles of player. But we don't need to go on to that. But Harry, you're speaking about our needs. With the 3 signings that we've made, obviously coupled with the 2 really early, what's the next demand on the shopping list for you?
It's still what it's always been and always will be until we get it fixed. We need centre backs. We've still needed centre backs for about the past 12 transfer windows, and it's just embarrassing at this point. But we need centre backs.
Greg,
centre backs.
I'm going to change it. Next on the shopping list for me has to be a winger. Has to be.
Yeah, that's
to be
definitely
final.
second biggest. Aye.
I think, do you know, like right now, if you were to put a team out on the park, you could have Harry Clark at right back, Porteous and Hanlon at centre half, Josh Doig at left back. You know, you could be you could get a team out there right now. Dimitri Mitchell surgery. I doubt he's going to be fit. Look, let's just say for Clyde, I can't imagine he could be fit after surgery for Clyde. So right now there's a huge gap at left wing as far as I can see. But, you know, you could easily go into that Clyde game with the back four I mentioned: Doyle, Hayes and Newell and Henderson, Cadden on the right, Doige up top or Melkerson up top, but then who's on the left?
But
you know, so I think that
play
left
Harry
midfield
Clark
spot-
on the left, I would imagine, because that's where Harry Clark went last season.
But that's not where we want it, is it?
Free
Like, that's what I mean, like-
Bradley.
but that's my point. where I think left wing has to be the next.
Don't worry, Harry. We'll rubbish Stephen Bradley straight away because he only done it in the League of Ireland.
Well, that's not my opinion.
I don't get it, as I've said that.
I think he needs to be given a chance this season based on his performances last season in the League of
Do you think
Ireland against physical players.
he hasn't really? I was actually looking into it though. His very fast start has tailed off, isn't it? At least in these terms of goals and assists. But when does the League of Ireland finish, Greg? October time.
October, yeah.
So probably January before we see him play probably this season, because I can't imagine. I would have thought we'd have recalled him by now.
It'll probably be the same terms as Siddiqui had, so we'll have an option in the summer to recall him.
January would have taken that up by now if he was going to be
I
coming
don't know.
back. No. Anyway, I'd like to see him back though. I'd like to see him come back, get pre-season. And
I actually thought he was good in
send him back.
pre-season last season. To be honest, I thought he was good.
Yeah,
But you've also
he
forgotten
was,
about
actually.
Dan Mackay. To be fair, he can play on the left.
Right, okay, I forgot, but like exactly, I stand by that we need a left winger. Like I know it's harsh, and we really haven't seen him. And do you know what? For Dan Mackay, do you know a little bit more composure? He
should have scored that goal against Rijeka.
His career could have been a lot different, but he didn't. And you know, so centre back for you to left winger for me. Is left winger second choice for you? Because centre half is definitely second on the shopping list for me.
Nah, because we're getting that boy for Portsmouth, so we need a right winger.
No, okay.
We're not just getting the boy
player
for
of the year
Portsmouth
drops
forward.
entirely.
We're getting Aidan McGeady as well, so we'll have plenty of cover on the left.
Oh, man,
Here we go. Here we go.
Mate, he was
Player. Absolute player.
No, I don't deny his quality. I don't deny his quality. He's had a very, very good career, but he's injured and missed the majority of last season, and he's 33, and I didn't want us to be signing 33-year-olds that are injured and will likely be coming in as a high earner. We've just got rid of Scott Allen, who's been sitting in the base swim up his ass for the last year, like on a high wage. We don't need that again. You know, like I'll be like brutally honest. Like we could go and sign McGeady on a 2-year deal. He'd be on a lot of money probably, and it would be a risk for me. I'd much rather it be invested in more players that we can sell in the future. But right, there wasn't a whole lot happening this week, so we went out to our Twitter followers for questions. You haven't seen these. Some of them are Hibs related, some of them aren't. We'll start with well, you might have seen them actually, but we'll start with the ones that are Hibs related. And we did sort of just touch on it. So Tony Swanson sent them 4, and I'm going to cover 2 of them. Can you each name a starting 11 currently? And what would your starting 11? So no players are signed between now and Clyde. Full strength. What's that team look like for you?
Shite.
As quick as possible. Let's just...
I'll jump in whilst Greg's thinking.
Porteous.
Okay.
Miller, Porteous, Stevenson,
Who's goals?
Cadden. Marshall in goals. Along the midfield, Cadden, Doyle, Hayes, Newell, Henderson, Doig.
Is it left back?
And
Stevenson.
So
Stevenson
3-5-2.
Oh,
3-5-2.
Shut up, Harry. Melkerson and Josh O'Connor up front.
So Harry Clark's been playing now.
I don't know. There's a start 11 there anyway. He can play if he wants to play.
Marshall in goals, Doig, Porteous, Hanlon. Just to spite you, I'd start Chrissy Cadden at right back. Centre mids, I'd start Doyle Hayes, Henderson, Kyle McGuinness. I'd get some injections into him, get him on the field. Then we'd get Harry Clark at left wing. Dimitri Mitchell again, ping some injections into him, get him playing. And then we'd stick right wing, and then we'd stick big Bojang up front. Just as against Clyde, who cares?
Why are we playing Mitchell at right wing and Clark on left wing?
And inverted, mate. If Clark can play left back, he can play left wing.
All right, mix your paddle in.
He played left wing at Hampden, didn't he?
He probably.
He played left wing against Dundee United as well. Yeah, it was Dundee United when he scored.
Second question of the four that we'll tackle tonight from Tony. Is 10,000 season tickets at this point of the summer good enough now? I don't know how we quantify good enough, but
considering the season we had last season, I think it's good. It's not where we want to be, nowhere near it. But if you look at the circumstances, it's probably a decent figure in terms of where we were last season. But we definitely want to be hitting the 13, 14, 15 marker.
Considering how many people came out to celebrate when Hibs won the Scottish Cup, 10,000 will never be good enough in my opinion. I think it's not a slight at all on the fans that go week in, week out. The fans that were at the semi-final against Rangers last year and the semi-final against Hearts, like those are the fans that we should be singing and shouting praises for. 10,000 is frustrating for me. I think the minimum benchmark should be about 12k. But I suppose that there's definitely time before the season starts properly to get our 2k in through the door. So yeah, for me,
I think I know a couple of signings that get people interested. We'll get season tickets bought, but I'm sure the club are more than aware of that.
Yeah. I think how much do you look? We have no insight here at all. Do you think that there is much of an uptake across the summer? Do you think that then all of a sudden the next surge will be right before the season starts? Or because personally for me, I always renew early because I want my seat. You know what I mean? Like I'm very much. I've never been a topic for you, Greg. I've never been someone that's toyed with the idea of no going since I've had my season ticket. So I don't really know what promote. I buy it because it's what I do. Like I don't know what is that push factor to make someone that's not so sure renew. Is it just signing?
I don't think it's just signings, but I think if you can get a manager in that says the right things and wants to promote football the way it should be played, in inverted commas, then I think you will get buy-in for players, for fans. I think fans will buy into that and will look to get along and support the club in whatever way they can. But I think the next big uptake will probably be before the season. If we go out and don't murder every team in the group stages of the League Cup, then there probably won't be an uptake. But yeah, it's difficult because fans are so fickle.
Right, next question. Let's get another Hibs one. Billy, King of the North. What colour of away top are you hoping for this season?
Purple. Always purple.
I love purple Hibs kits, but this year I would like to see a black with a green trim. I think I've not a black for a while.
Titanic Albright at Celtic Park.
Exactly that, my man. Or even the one that we had before that, the would have been the starred white and Mackay and Lecoq Sportif, and it just had the green trim just sort of piping.
I kind of doesn't answer the question, but you said black and that was going to be my answer. But I'd love a third kit that was like pink. Like, see the keeper kits we've had the last few years. I think they're smart as. Like, I'd love to have like an actual like outfield kit for that. Greg looked like he was going to make a comment for a second there, and then he reserved himself.
So as Lewis is obviously steaming in Amsterdam, is sending me stuff, calling me a Hibs dick and that. So yeah, he's not wrong. I mean, the green and purple kit the other season was phenomenal.
It was banging.
Like that was unreal, to be honest.
I mean, I'd be happy with another version of this year's away kit. Last year's away kit.
Yeah.
No, that was really quite effective. So the pinstripes always generally go well for Hibs. Like talking about the purple kit there a couple of years back as well.
I would think so.
Sort of
Yeah.
consistency that we seem to like. Staying on the kits, Finlay has asked some of the worst and best kits we've had over the years. So what I'll ask for you is like a favourite home top, a least favourite home top, and same for away kits.
Least favourite home top was the first one in the championship. Looked like a training top.
Full bottle green one that was supposed to be
Yeah,
for the
it
favourite
was
five.
absolutely shite. Do you know what? Probably one of my favourite ones was the season we got relegated.
Yeah, the Nike one.
That was smart.
It was so comfy on as well. so comfy on.
So I had the black away top that year.
Yeah, that was nice as well, to be fair. So it'd probably be between the season we got relegated, home top, and the season we won the Scottish Cup.
Okay.
Home
and
top.
what about for your away favourite and least favourite?
Away least favourite.
You can have a third in there as well if you want.
Yeah, I know. The third kit's going to be the yellow one. We won 4-2 away at Kelly.
That was a banger.
Oh yeah, with
I thought that was shite.
The wee black sort of
I wasn't a fan.
Patch, but
Thought it was boring. Thought it was too much like a training top again. Favourite away one, the purple Nike one in the season one in the Scottish Cup was phenomenal.
Yeah, I had that one. Yeah.
But the only thing that ruined the two kits was a shite sponsor.
At least on that season, they
blended it in a wee bit.
It was white, wasn't it? And then whereas because the season before it was the big fucking red plaster across the front there, wasn't it? Same to you, Harry.
I was going to say the white one with the marathon bet on it, like just because of how ugly the marathon bet was the away one. I can't mind what season it was exactly.
First season in championship, but it was two absolute honkers that season.
Yeah. And then favourite, I'm a stickler for what do you call it, like old fashioned trendy kits. Like I can't even mind what year it was in the 90s, like the shimmery green one. It just looks proper retro, it's banging. It's like a silky green. Wouldn't even guess the year, to be honest. Also like the year we won the CIS Cup just because it's iconic. I quite like White and Mackay as a sponsor. Always thought that was quite cool.
You need to give me
I'll give you 2007 for home kit favourite. Away kit favourite.
CIS Cup was 2006, 2007. Just to let you know.
Aye, did I not say 2007? Aye, when we won the cup.
Aye, but it was 2006, isn't it?
Aye, well, your job will be getting released in 2022. And third kit, I'll just give you a favourite third kit. Ken, the like purple thistle one. It was like a proper light purple.
Well, we wore it like once at the park.
Aye. Yeah, I really like that kit. Aye.
An honourable mention for one, I honestly couldn't tell you what year. It was like silky purple. It was a while ago now.
In the middle?
Yeah.
The Lacoste one, sorry.
It was ruined by the fact I got McManus 17 on the back.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Aye. My favourite home kit is the... I think the Cup one gets too much credit because we won the Cup. I'm not a big fan of Hibs bottle green kits. I preferred it to be the more classic Emerald one. I was a big... Greg, the year we went down was a good kit. But I'm going to go for the... One that you didn't go for, one that you didn't go for. I like the one that we had when still the Cox Sportif and White and Mackay. It might have been the last one. Mixer was manager. I think I sent it to you the other week. It's maybe 2008. And stuff. That's nice action, Harry. My least favourite home one is absolutely the all bottle green one for the first season championship. Least favourite away top is the season we got promoted from the Championship, the luminous yellow thing. It was a trading
Oh,
top.
that was a bad one, wasn't it?
And my favourite away kit. I really like this year's away kit.
Cop out.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't really go for it though because I bought the home kit and the first kit. I never bought the away kit. I'll go for the one I mentioned earlier, the black Clockspiel Teeth away kit, which may well have been the away kit from the year that I'm talking about, the home kit. So I was there or thereabouts. Right, next question from the listeners. Who do we all want first game of the season? Fixtures are out on Friday.
Motherwell away.
Oh, good choice. Good choice.
I'm assuming we'll be due a home game after being away last season.
Just give us Motherwell away every week.
Ken, what we could do, we could do Ibrox. I think Ibrox is a fun start to the season. Get there, get them pumped. And that's how you kick on.
You'll know get you. I can't. It's hypothetical, but Celtic will be home. Kind of the flag.
Absolute dug meat hearts. Who got? Give us. Oh, Kelly away. That'd be a laugh. I'd take that.
Kelly is shite.
I'll say I'm keeping it realistic. Look, away days are class and stuff, but I was going to say Kelly at home because they've just been promoted, but at home at Derek McInnes for the first day of the season. No, thank you. I've seen that against Aberdeen enough.
What could go wrong?
Ken, I would take St Mirren at home. Just a game that we should go in expecting to win and hopefully a nice comfortable win. You know, like just a game that I would go in confident that we would win and hopefully come out of it with the 3 points. A boring, mundane 3 points to start the season, please. Nay going behind
screams a 2-0 bottle it.
Is that because we had that the other season?
Aye.
With a fucking Josh Vela masterclass.
Oh, when Scott Allen scored it late. Oh, no, actually, I was actually thinking David Witherspoon's debut under John. Was it John Hughes?
Yeah.
Right, let's wrap this up. We've got a couple of questions that are non. Oh no, here's another Hibs related one, and we'll finish on one that's maybe a bit long bangers. Let's probably do it anyway. But this is from John Cardenas, but from Long Bangers. Have you ever been under this mistaken impression that a Hibs player is a different nationality than what they actually are, or any other mistaken impression re Hibs players could also be discussed? He says. Personally, I can't think of any off the top of my head. A geek and I read up into everyone straight away.
Rumour Conde was Swiss, and I didn't think he was Swiss.
Right.
That's probably the only one.
How did you find out? How did you find out he was Swiss?
In the paper.
Did I ever tell you the mistaken identity story?
No.
I've probably told you this before, but I've probably even said it on the podcast before. I find it really funny. But after we won the cup, it was the season that it was the Madrid derby in the Champions League final. And then at the Hibs club, they were showing the game. So then me and my mum went along, and we met up with like a few friends and that. And then gets to extra time in that, and a certain Hibs player walks into the room. So everybody's pure buzzing in that. And then I walk up to him, give him a kiss on the forehead, get my photo taken, and then Mum gets her photo taken, and she's like, "Thanks so much for scoring that goal, David." Got a right look in his face. He walks away. I'm like, Mum, that's Dylan McGeoch.
You have told us that story. That is superb, by the way.
No, but she knew it was, what do you call it? She knew it was McGeoch, but she just wanted to take the piss out of him and see how he reacted, and he was not happy about it at all. But I thought it was a cracker.
That is world class. Right. Last one to wrap us up on. I kind of wish I'd kept that for them now. Fattest Prickus, can we discuss which is the best wheelie bin? Now, what we need to do here is, first of all, what does each bin hat be in each of your areas? Because I think my general one's green, recycling's blue, and brown's the other stuff.
I've seen black ones as well, by the way.
Well, in Livingston, it's grey for grey, black for general, no green.
So for normal waste in the People's Republic, it is grey. The recycling is the green bin, and the garden waste is a brown bin. And the council charge you £25 a year for the privilege of them getting picked up. Fucking boo. But yeah, my favourite's probably the green bin, because that's all my mat ever goes on about is the green bin. So yeah, and it's been welded into my head.
Harry, what's
I'll give two answers because I'm in different circumstances than I normally am in life. So when at East Lothian, your green bin's your like average bin. So if you walk past a wheelie bin and you've got like anything to throw away, you just chuck it in the green bin.
Do you use other folks' bins?
I didn't normally, but if I'm walking, then I just throw it in. I used to do it loads when I was younger. I didn't really do it these days.
I would do that, right? Because surely that's better than putting it on the ground. But some
we had
people get
a
really
woman
uptight about that.
like. You can when you're at high school and that you go like to the shops to get your lunch or whatever. Like we used to call it down the street. Like you go down the street, get your lunch, and come back. There was a woman that used to stop kids that you'd never seen before, and she'd say to them, like, "Don't throw your litter on the floor. Just throw it in my back garden." And folk would literally walk past, finish their food, throw it in her back garden, and she would like recycle it. But my second prong of the story, because as I say, I've not got wheelie bins down here. In my place, there's like a trash chute. Like it's very American. That's why I called it trash instead of a rubbish chute. Aye. So like when we moved in, when me and my flatmate moved in, there wasn't a bin in the apartment because every time they would need to bin something, they would walk out and put it down the chute. I just think that's absolutely mental. So obviously we put a bin and we'll just take it down to the actual bit where the chute takes it to. But I think that's strange as. But in answer to your question, one the cabbage, green bins. Green bins.
Yeah, green for sure. And I'll be honest, so in my flat we didn't have a trash chute, but we've got about 15 green bins and about 15 blue bins that sit at the back, and you don't have to take them out of that. The council just come round because they sit there at the pavement anyway. And the green one's closer, so green one's the day. The blue one's actually quite like try to be a good human in that and recycle and stuff, but the milk cartons go in the green one, like because I can't be arsed for the extra 10 steps for my fat lazy bastard.
See, in East Lothian, I think I have it the same for you guys. Like the recycling bins are like these like wee cuboids as opposed to like wheelie bins, so they're actually like boxes instead. So they're no wheelie bins.
My dad and my stepmom lived in Stenhouse for a while, and they didn't have a big fuck off wheelie bin for recycling. They had a red in and a blue in, and I think one was for glass maybe, and one was for plastic. So I don't fucking know. This has been right. This is good. Mate, genuinely,
just to end the chat on bins, right?
The green
we have the red ones used to be for the cardboard, but then they discontinued that one, and the blue ones for all the bottles and the jars and that. But it's just nowhere near the green bin, to be honest. Green bin wins the day every time. It's always been a green bin.
Regardless of what goes in it, the green bin is the best bin.
Yeah, purely because it's green.
Aye, smashing. Well,
I enjoyed that segment. We should do that again.
Aye. That's been down
definitely shouldn't. or down the chute in Harry's case.
Yay!
Yeah, that's enough. I'll away watch Love Island.
We'll be back next week, probably reacting to hopefully a couple of signings, fingers crossed. And the pictures will have been released, and who the fuck knows what else? I was going to say off season. This non-footballing.
Harry's rubbing off on you as well.
This non-footballing period is really starting to wear fucking thin, especially with how shite Scotland have been. But yeah, we'll be back next week in some form. Cheers.
Bye.